ready?
Got open man. DJ Moore. End zone. Touchdown. Touchdown Bears.
I am Jeff Joniak.
Blitz is on. Down he goes. Oscar.
What was it like playing for Coach Ditka?
I don't want to answer any questions like that.
Pressure coming. He's in big trouble. Down he goes. Montez Sweat.
And etc.
Now, Bears Etc. brought to you by GEICO, with the voices of the Bears, Jeff Joniak and Tom Thayer.
Time to move on for the Bears and change the picture of what they want this season to be. Week 9 beckons, and yet another road trip Sunday in Glendale, Arizona, with Super Bowl winning Bears guard Tom Thayer. I'm Jeff Joniak, and this is episode 107 of the Bears Etc. podcast, brought to you by GEICO. Coming up, we take the temperature of the team after that gut punch of a loss in Washington. Podium Wednesday includes quarterback Caleb Williams and wide receiver DJ Moore, a little Matt Eberflus again as well. Tell me how you have chose to address this week, how to approach this week as a broadcaster, given how we felt on that plane ride coming home, because it's long over. We're not going to get into more details about that game. That's done. Closing the book on it. I'm tired of hearing about it, seeing about it, right?
Thank you. And I'm so glad you brought it up, because I was so disappointed in listening to the press conferences today that everybody's trying to rehash a negative moment and what it means to them now. The disappointment is as disappointing today as it was a couple days ago. The whole process of the end of the game was as frustrating to them as what it is to us. No more questions. I don't want to hear anybody ask another question about the Commanders game. And I just wish, and I was never a big fan of the way Belichick would answer questions when he'd say, hey, I'm on to the next game. I'm on to the next game. Well, I'm on to the next game, Jeff. So don't ask me anything else about Washington. Don't ask me about how I'm feeling or what I would do, because all you're doing is you're wasting some really precious preparation moments with a young quarterback like Caleb in a team that's going to have some movable pieces this week.
Matt Eberflus chose to use Wednesday's practice as a walkthrough, Tom, and a meetings day. Some were curious as to why, but they did it in London. They did it, and his explanation makes total sense. And there was your gut reaction to it when you heard that was going to be the case today, as they got a lot of banged-up bodies, particularly on the offensive line. We'll get into that. And just, refresh. He believes in walkthroughs and what it accomplishes and getting everybody on the field. That has been explained by players as well in the past as basically an on-field exam. If you know your assignments and you know how to execute them, then you better do it in the walkthrough, because you're not going to be able to do it in the game. So that was the approach, and I'm not suggesting this is going to be the rest of the season on Wednesday, but it was pertinent for this one.
Right. The thing about it, to make a tired group more tired when they're preparing for their next opponent, I think it's deflating and frustrating. So we got off the same bus that the players did. So we're getting back to Hallis Hall at about midnight. And it's not something that you drive right home and you fall asleep, because you have all these lingering instances that are running through your head. So you probably go to sleep more 2 or 3 o'clock. And then you're tired for the next couple days because the game is super fatiguing, and so is the travel and everything else. So believe it or not, as much as I am old school, I believe with the decision to have a walkthrough, make sure you sit in meetings maybe a little bit extra, feed the information to who could possibly be a new player. And they have the process of going into the weight room. They have Jimmy Arthur and Pierre, and they're putting the guys through their weight room paces. They're much more scientific about the study of hydration, nutrition, and rest than they are when I was an NFL player. So I don't disagree with any of it. Let's go to work.
All right, so we'll get an injury report later, but because it was a walkthrough, it's just projections. However, it is pertinent that got to figure out where Braxton Jones is at. Got some very vague answers from Matt Eberflus. He has no need to tell everybody what's up there, but Braxton Jones with the knee, Tevin Jenkins a knee. They lost Bill Murray for the season with a torn pectoral and his couple snaps in that game. Karan Amagavji has a calf. And so that doesn't sound very promising either. Larry Borum, a full practice if there were one today, so he's on that track to return. So Matt enjoyed how the offensive line overall in moments performed, and appreciated the way the staff is cross-training those guys to play when needed in a moment's notice, as you like to say. So how do you address the offensive line and how it looks right now?
Give me the freshest guy and the next man up. Larry Borum practiced last week, and he was in pads. He was on his feet. He was on the field. He knows this offense mentally inside and out. So that's not anything I'm concerned about. It's during the process of his rehabilitation from an ankle injury. Was he in the process of conditioning himself well enough to go to Arizona and play there? And I think it's only going to be a high temperature in the early 70s. So it's going to be
it'll be chilly, yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. It's not going to be an oh my god type of heat out there in Arizona. And then I don't know what the position of Ryan Bates is. I know they just took him off the injury, and he's got an opportunity to start practicing. Is he ready enough to be ready? Because if he is, I have to investigate where he's at in that process. We'll see how things go and the decisions. I have a lot of trust in Chris Morgan and what decisions he'll make, what's best for the team.
Coach meets with the captains every Wednesday to kind of set the tone, or even earlier in the week. And that's what was the case with the 8 captains. I don't know if you guys had this back in your day, these executive councils, so to speak, with players. I do like, and we're going to hear some of DJ Moore, and I'm going to hear from Caleb Williams. They want this to be a player-led football team. Now, I don't want you all to think out there that means it's mutiny. No, it's players looking at players and holding each other accountable, playing for each other, allowed to speak their minds about certain things. That doesn't mean Matt Eberflus is going to say, oh, yeah, we can do that, we can do that, we can do that. No, we're going to discuss it. That's the point of the whole thing. Do you like the idea, and what in your mind is a definition of a player-led football team?
Okay, you think about the time frame that these guys are inside the building. The time that they're in the locker room, the time that they're walking to and from meetings, the time they're in meetings before the coaches get there, it's the players talking amongst themselves. So back in our day, Ditka says this is not a democracy, this is a dictatorship, and I am the dictator. But when we would go into the locker room and you would have questions or you would want to clear something up, you had the go-to guys inside that locker room. Was it a Fensick? Was it a Singletary? Was it a Hamp Ming? All the types of guys that were in there, the Walters and stuff. So you had the guys that you're always going to have conversations with, whether you want to delegate captains or not. There's always the senior leadership inside that locker room that is your go-to guy. And so I'm okay with it being a player-led team because there's a lot of good, experienced football players inside that locker room. And the discrepancy now of young to old, because you have a couple of more mature guys, your DJs, your Mercedes Lewis, your
TJ Edwards,
Trumaine, TJ, Kevin Byard, so on and so forth. And then you have these young guys that they've been around for, as you would say, a minute. And so these guys that have just trying to get their feet wet inside an NFL locker room, they have the go-to guys. And so what's the difference if, you're having it in a meeting room or if you're having it in the locker room? I think some of those conversations in the locker room can really benefit these young players.
All right, let's listen in a little bit of Matt Eberflus at Wednesday's podium.
I've talked with Tyreek. Him and I had a great conversation. And again, I'll keep it there with him and I. We had a after action report, like we always do when we assess the game, things we did well, things we need to improve on, and then working from that and how we're going to improve those things. Every single week we do that. And, we had that part of our Monday meeting and talking to the guys through Tuesday. And again, it's all about accountability and execution, and that starts with me. And the game didn't finish the way we wanted it to. And again, that starts with me. We hold each other accountable that way. But again, we'll have answer for those things, and that's why we do the after action report. And then really this is about Arizona, right? So now we're on to Arizona, and it's a big week for us. Jonathan Gann has done an awesome job of turning that thing in the last 4 games. He's 3-1 in the last 4 games, just like we are, and he's an outstanding coach. I had a chance to coach with him, at the Colts, and it's been really good. He's done a really good job there, and he's a heck of a man and a really good leader. Team meeting, we talked about the keys to victory. It went well, and then we did the walkthrough. So why walkthrough today? That's the question. And I would say that because of our O-line, a little bit banged up at the O-line, if we did the walkthrough practice, got a chance to get everybody reps, and it was beneficial based on the numbers that the performance gave me for a lot of other folks too. But that was really why, and to get those guys in there. I met with the captains this morning, and what I got out of that meeting was, belief, trust, determined, to have a really good Wednesday and a really good preparation week for this game against Arizona.
All right, so he's keeping everything in-house, keeping it close to the best, preparing for the next assignment. So it's now about the NFC. The Bears play one more AFC team. That's it this season. So this effectively is the halfway point. You get through Arizona, and then you're getting in New England, and now it's 9-9. That's it. 9 games in, 9 games to go, and now it's about playoffs. It's about getting yourself situated in the NFC. And it's not just division, it's the NFC. So this is a very important game. Teams that you may need to see again in the playoffs, or you're fighting for, like what happened with Washington. I'm just going to utter the name Washington, not going to go into what happened, but that's a tiebreaker. So you got to start looking at that. If you want to be a playoff team, and you want to think like you are a playoff caliber football team that is ready to win now, then this is how you have to operate as a player. In your mind, you have to take these and take them head on. Am I right or am I wrong?
100% right. And it's about the next game. It's about how are you going to go in there and play against an explosive offense that has a handful of players that are dynamic in their skill set according to the position they play. And then how are you going to be as a continuously developing offense to get more out of the playmakers that you have on your football team? I think it's an awesome opportunity for the Bears to travel into Arizona, go there and play an emotionally filled football game, come home with a win, get this thing back on track, and then welcome your Bears fans for the next 3 games and be excited about walking into Soldier Field next week. I'm not looking ahead. I'm just saying the Bears have to take that next step in the maturation process of their team.
Have a new or gently used coat laying around? Well, head to your local Jewel-Osco until February 10th, 2025, and donate one of your new or gently used coats to the 36th Annual Chicago Bears Coat Drive. Help keep Chicagoans warm this wintertime. You missed it up here at Hallis Hall today. Tony Medlin annually getting to the podium at this point in the holiday season approaching, and talked about the impact of it, what he is asking people to do at 189 Jewel-Osco stores in the Chicagoland area and in the Midwest. Cole Kmet, ambassador as well. It's always the rite of passage to the holiday season when Tony takes the podium, Tom.
I didn't miss anything, Jeff. I sat there and I watched I watched it as closely as you watched it, because I know that you're looking at the screen in your office and I was looking at this. And so I'll tell you what, and I was thinking back to myself. So this will be the 36th coat that I've given to the coat drive, because I've never gone without putting one in the cardboard box because there's one at Hallis Hall. And so, and then there's one and the Jewel. I was at Jewel today, a matter of fact.
What amazes me about that, if I may interrupt, is the fact that you are not a shopper. You don't go to stores. You don't. But to have that many coats around for 36 years, that's saying something about you, Big Tom.
Well, it's my mom. Because listen, if my mom said, "Oh my God, this coat's big enough for you," and it was on sale, so I got to listen. And I've always thrown, like it said, a gently used coat in there. Just because emotionally, when you think about who this is going to benefit, you think about someone standing at a bus stop in the middle of the winter and they look like they're freezing because they don't have the coat. And then you think, man, maybe this coat can reach somebody who needs it that I don't need.
Yeah,
and
don't
forget
the little kids that don't have coats.
Exactly.
That's the one, man.
My coats aren't going to fit little kids.
No, they're not.
My coat is going to fit an adult. But I was thinking, okay, 36 coats that I've given over the years, and
maybe those 36 coats went to 36 people who then redonated to 36 other people. See how it grows? Coats are something that lasts forever if you take care of them. So you can keep passing it down for sure.
I'm proud of the Bears and all their partners. that kind of come together and have this coat drive every year. And like Tony said, it goes until mid-February.
Yep.
So don't think you got to do it tomorrow. You can do it throughout your course of winter.
Bears fans, Steinhoffel's a proud partner of the Chicago Bears. The Bears season, Steinhoffel's partnering with Special Spaces Illinois to create dream bedrooms for children battling cancer for every false start caused by Bears defenses during a home game. Steinhoffel's donates $1,000 to Special Spaces Illinois. Shop in-store online at steinhoffels.com. Let's listen in to the quarterback, Caleb Williams, who addresses his own performance in that Washington loss.
First half didn't play necessarily the way I wanted to. I think the ability to snap and start getting things going late in the game, being down that much, and having so many, I would say, negative drives or stalled drives and things like that, I think is a positive. Obviously, we have to start fast. We have to figure out ways to do that. We have to figure out ways to maintain and keep that going throughout 4 quarters, or how many ever plays, drives, whatever you need to be able to win games. And that's a big part of me. I'm a big part of the leaders, a big part of us in our next step, I would say, because we need games like that. There's going to be games like that. We have to be able to pull it out there.
Matt said he met with the captains today. What were you guys hoping to get out of that meeting or relay to him?
Yeah, we shared our thoughts, and it was a normal captain meeting. We've lost before and had to deal with that, and we've won before and had to deal with that after, in the meeting and things like that. So I think it was a normal meeting. We voiced opinions like we typically do, whether it's for practice or games or how we felt about this or travel or whatever the case may be. We voiced our opinions, and he voiced his thoughts and things like that. Coach Flus, he voiced his thoughts, and we just had a grown man talk, and we all sat in there and went back and forth. No raising voices or anything, nothing like that. Just a real talk, and we want to win. That's simple, and obviously the coaches do. He does. We all do. So. Just being able to come together and find ways to do that is typically how those meetings go.
Well, when you've talked about, like before, with open communication with Shane, we know about you guys going to the coaching staff saying coach us harder, and then we hear captains speaking out about coaching decisions the last couple of days. What do you think it says about this team that the leaders of this team are the ones saying, hey, this doesn't fly with us, or we want to see something different right now?
I think, and I kind of learned this at my other places that I've been at, of college and high school, and kind of just growing up and learning more about football and things like that, and the better teams that I've been on, that the players lead, and that's what we have here. I think it's something that I go by myself is okay teams lead. I learned this I think 2 years ago now. Okay teams, nobody leads. Good teams, coaches lead, and then the great teams, the players lead. So. We have to find ways to be better for ourselves and things like that. There's plays in that game, where we have to execute. Whether my drop is wrong, whether the route, depth is wrong, whether the hand placement and your helmet isn't across the defender's chest, so we can get him moving and then cut up and things like that. So there's a lot of things that I think players first and foremost can. Correct. You always have to look at yourself before you start, pointing fingers or doing anything like that, and make sure you're doing things right. So I think it starts there, and then from there, we're going to keep having communication. We're going to keep getting better between the coaches and us players. That's the point in football. Is to keep getting better. It's a long season, and we have to keep growing.
Caleb, throughout your football career, if you've come off a loss, just a tough loss, have you had the inkling or the thought that I got the ball in my hands next week, we need a win, I'm the quarterback, you got to take control? Have you had that in your career, and do you want to have that, or is there a feeling like, let me just trust everybody, it's just another game, or do you kind of almost want to be Superman and say, I can fix this?
No, I don't think the thought of it's time to be Superman kind of pops in my head. I think there's times where where you go out there and make plays and everybody calls it a Superman play, but without the small things of the details that go into it, whether it's an actual broken play or it's just another routine play, and going through your reads, I think there's no sense of one Superman person on the team. I think the trust and belief comes from the teammates and being able to go out there and execute at a high level, and I think it starts with the details and so. I think going back to the first part of that was at some point I do want to be able to control as much as I can. I do understand that that's a learning process. I do understand that I don't know everything. I'm still learning. Both ears open to any coaching, whether it's my teammates or whether it's the coaches, things they've seen, things they've been a part of, and so that at some point. Hopefully sooner rather than later, because I want to be able to affect the game, very differently throughout the years of my career. I think that's a goal of mine. But I think the Superman thing, I think it comes from the details. It may look like one person, but it's all 11 of us going out there and doing our job.
Tom, you listened in again, acting like the leader that he is, going up there and owning his performance, and then looking broadly at what's next and how they got to get going in the right direction and starting fast.
My appreciation grows every time Caleb goes to the podium because he doesn't answer questions with cliches, and there are times that he has to sit there and rethink the question and what he wants to say about it. I really appreciate everything Caleb has done for the Bears organization up until this point, and I think he's only scratching the surface of ultimately where he's going to go and where his career is going to lead this football team. So I'm excited to watch him in Arizona. I'm excited to see what type of crowd shows up in Arizona. Is it going to be that Bears supportive crowd that kind of takes over the stadium, or are they going to be fighting the crowd noise again like they did at times in Washington? But Caleb understands about the distribution of the ball as soon as he can get it out of his hands and make the correct decision with accurate throws, and I'm still excited to watch that process.
Time now for our GEICO is a go, for the GEICO brings you more football stat of the day. I want to focus on points because that's how you win games. You try to prevent as many as possible, and you got to score to win. And the Bears would like to score more points. They had a stretch here in the 3-game winning streak. They definitely did. But on drives starting inside their own 20, they have already had 15 drives. That's tied for 20th. Only 15 points. So that's a long field. Okay, and that's about first downs. And then the other one is obvious, is the first quarter point production is just at 10. That is second fewest in the NFL. However, second half, they're top 10 with 84 points. Tom, this is an age-old discussion. If you're not starting fast and putting points on the board, but you're doing it late and finding a way to win, that's great. If you're not scoring in the second half to close out games, but you put up points in the – you know what I'm saying? It's the chicken and the egg. So how do you look at this? What's your analysis as a broadcaster and former player about the start fast, finish strong mentality that is still in the learning process in terms of consistency?
This is a stat that I would love to see. I would love to see the average per carry of every run play of the first 10 rushes the Bears have in a game, because that would tell me about productivity on first and second down, and then the position you put Caleb in on third down. And then to me, if you're lacking production out of the run game within those first 10 carries, then I need to look to Cole Kmet or throwing the ball to the running back to get the ball out of Caleb's hands as quickly as possible and try to get more production on those first and down simple throws where you're not up there thinking at the line of scrimmage. You know exactly where your target is. So you're not necessarily going through changes or reading. You know that, okay, there's a swing pass. Boom, I throw it to DeAndre Swift or Roshan or whomever it is. Or boom, I take a 3-step drop and I hit Cole, 4 to 5 yards off the line of scrimmage. So comparative analytics there, production out of your first 10 run plays, or what you could do if you had some simple, non-thinking, one-decision passes.
What typically is a function of that slow start in your experience?
to me, when I think about some of these games, it's about some of the run plays early in the game that you're not getting any production out of it. And then you are putting the defense in the advantage on the first third down because it's 3rd and 8 or longer. And now a mature defense can challenge a young quarterback throughout the thinking process, the amount of bodies that they're throwing at it, and then trying to split up the blocking scheme of between the offensive line and the backs and maybe see, okay, we have an advantage here. Let's take advantage of it on this first, 3rd, and whatever the distance.
We got to get Coletti on the case to do an analysis. So
right.
The first 10, you say first 10 runs of the game.
First 10 runs in a game.
Okay, we're on it. We'll get him going. We've only had 7 games. He can handle that in a day's work.
Well, it has 70 carries.
Yeah, so get to it. Get to it, Director of Research and Statistics, Doug Coletti. He does a great job. We're giving him a hard time because, honestly, he sends us stuff throughout the course of the week, and we're like, wow, how did he even think of that? Tastes like Miller time. Go to MillerLite.com/BearsPod to find delivery options near you. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces. All right, DJ Moore, a weekly Wednesday visit with the media every week right after Caleb Williams does his, and he had plenty to say as well, asked about what is going on in terms of leadership in the locker room and his own thoughts. Players now have own shows. They got their hits on local radio shows. Cole Kmet's got his own podcast. So does Kevin Byard. So does Mercedes Lewis. So opinions are going to come out. They're human. They're football players. They're in the thick of it. They're in the thick of the competition. So
they get asked.
They get asked, and they're going to answer. And some of these guys are going to be up front, like DJ Moore. Here we go.
So as a leader, do you feel a sense of responsibility to make sure the way you lost on Sunday and the national conversation that surrounded it doesn't linger with them? Like, how do you make sure that doesn't?
It's just going on to the next one. We're not below 500. The sky isn't falling. So, I mean, on to the next opponent. That's the Cardinals, and we got to just figure out a way to be 1-0 this week.
The sky isn't falling, but there is kind of a lot of noise, a lot of stuff going on. How is this team feeling?
I mean, it feels good. I mean, to the media, it might be falling because of how we lost or whatever, however it is. But, I mean, everybody here is just fine and on to getting back on the win streak.
Do you feel this is a player-led team?
I do feel like that. Because no decisions or anything is made like without the leadership council or the captains meeting, and then we go from there.
How does that compare to other groups you've been a part of? How is this kind of player-led group? I mean, does it give you hope about what you guys are building here?
Yeah, because you got a bunch of veterans in there, and everybody speaks their opinion, and whatever sticks, and what doesn't, I mean, it just on the back burner until next time.
Do you feel like you and Caleb are close to getting on the same page a little bit more in the games for some production?
Yeah, you're going to have that up and down throughout the season. When coverages roll or they push to my side and I'm the only person over there, I mean, it's hard, but you got to understand the game. And then he progresses on. You got Keenan, Rome, Cole, DeAndre. You got other playmakers that could make plays too.
Is there an element that they got to feed the beast, though?
There is a certain element, but if the beast is tamed by like 3 people, you know what I'm saying? You don't want to break the chain and go crazy, but I'm cool.
Nah, DJ's another one of those guys. I love to hear him at the podium because I respect everything he says and I respect the way he plays on the field. Even the other night in Washington when he sat on the sidelines after taking a big hit, he was able to get up, brush it off, and come back into the game. But when he talks about the leadership council and stuff like that, I don't necessarily want to hear him telling us everything that goes on in a meeting, because there's a lot of meetings you go to that you don't run to all your friends and tell them exactly what was said in there and what you guys discussed. That's kind of privilege to that group of leaders so they can carry that message from the coach's office down to the locker room. And if you have to go there and be a person of authority, be a player of authority, and go pull someone aside and say, look, you're the next man up. We need a great work week out of you. Or, hey, with the discipline that we all put on this football team, we need you to live by the same rules and regulations on and off the field that we do. So, listen, man, DJ's never going to disappoint me, and I enjoy everything he has to say each week.
My favorite thing was the sky isn't falling. He said that. So, because it isn't. The sky isn't falling. It is not falling. Listen, man, teams lose games in very heartbreaking ways every week in the season. And the Bears have been in a lot of one-score games in the last couple of years, and they are under 500 in that. So they've suffered hard losses. And, the good news for me is they rallied when it didn't look good. Things weren't looking good. Caleb Williams led 2 scoring drives in crunch time, and that's what you're looking for from your franchise quarterback, that he raises all boats and finds a way. And to me, that is what I'm going to pull out of this, because it's happened every game, and it's going to continue to happen. And when they hit their stride as a complete football team and rip off another 3-game winning streak or avoid these kinds of focus issues from time to time, things are going to be looking pretty clear skies.
Right. The one thing I take from all that is at the beginning of the description of the touchdown run by DeAndre Swift, and I was listening to you call it and I was paying attention to it, and I could almost hear it in your voice that there was an assumption that this was going to turn into a touchdown run. And I was going, okay, this is the play that the Bears have been waiting for all game. This is something that could get them right back into it. And then I focused to the sideline, and I saw all these white jerseys jumping up and down in celebration because they weren't defeated in energy. They were living in the exhilaration of that one big play that got them back in the game. And it kind of started with your description, listening on the radio, and then paying attention to both the path for DeAndre and then the sideline of the Bears.
Sure did like those double blocks by Karan Amagaji on the pull. Did a nice job.
Listen, Karam Amagaji had a good block. Cole Kmet had a good block. Gerald Everett had a good block. Keenan Allen had a good block. And every one of them were essential in the overall development of that play. And then DeAndre Swift, with the patience and the vision, he got out of it exactly how it was blocked.
Brought to you by PNC, official bank of the Bears. This Bears Etc. podcast number 107. And good news, Chicago United Airlines is getting brand new planes with all the bells and whistles, like Bluetooth connectivity, screens at every seat, and room for everyone's roller bag. United, proud to fly the Chicago Bears, and you too. All right, you ready to dig into this NFC opponent? Because
yes.
Arizona is a very tricky team, if you ask me. Challenging. Let me start with the offense, because Kyler Murray, and, we're going to talk to TJ Edwards this week, and TJ's played him 3 times. And the numbers that have been put up against Philadelphia when he was there and against the Bears, it's both run and pass. Over 200 yards in each case. Throwing the ball, nearing 50 yards. Rushing the football, 32, 42, 29 in the Cardinals win back in Philadelphia era of TJ Edwards. But he's a threat. He's a threat, and he's got some weapons. And those weapons include one of the premier receivers to come out of the college game in a long time in Marvin Harrison. The Calvin Johnson-type impact is what everyone expected from the 4th overall pick. He followed the 3 quarterbacks that were drafted. So he's there, but so is James Conner. And you look up James Conner, you don't think of James Conner as one of the elite backs in the NFL. He's just a tough back. No. He's an elite player. He's an elite player, and Trey McBride, a tight end, is really starting to emerge as well. So let's start with the offense and how you envision stopping that group.
Well, there's going to be a lot on each defensive player's plate, because when you face a quarterback like Kyler Murray, your width of responsibility is a lot longer than if you play against an immobile quarterback like the Bears have played earlier in the season. And so when you have a guy like Kyler Murray, laterally, you have to be responsible for a lot more space, because you have to defend all 53 yards width of the football field. And then when you have downfield explosiveness and the size of Harrison Jr., you got a talented tight end, and then you have a powerful runner that will lower his shoulders, and he will impact and create yards after the initial collision, because now there's space in between each defender. Once they commit to where the ball is going, they have to close the ranks, and then they have to support each other. So the initial width of their responsibilities and how it condenses down to limiting the success of a play.
This team was explosive last year running the football, and there's other backs too. Amari DiMercato is one to keep an eye on as well, especially as a third down back. All right, let's flip it over to the defensive side of the ball. They are really banged up on the defensive line. 2 former Bears would have been in that lineup, Bilal Nichols and Justin Jones, our pal from the last couple of years here with the Bears, but both are on IR right now. I don't know about Roy Lopez. He's a nose tackle. He was injured, didn't play last week, so I'm looking at Budda Baker. Budda Baker flies all over the field, and he has no consideration for his body whatsoever. He plays with entirely ferocious, reckless abandon he likes contact.
Okay.
I love nickels, but I really love safeties. I love safeties. Yeah. I love safeties that are going to hit you.
All right, well, don't forget about Kairos Tonga, former Chicago Bears on the defensive line there in Arizona. So we can't only forget about Jones and Bilal Nichols. We got to throw. But so last week when DeAndre Swift hurdled the safety coming at him, Budda Baker just recently got hurdled as well. So if he wants to come up and throw his body around and fly into the tackler and he does it with his head down, look for maybe another hurdle to happen this week. And whether it's by Cole or DeAndre or Roshan or whomever it may be. I like Budda Baker, but I'm not going to hold a Ronnie Lott tag day for him.
No.
I still
Well, that's a one and only, but he's a 5-time Pro Bowler, you know. He's an all-pro. He's got all-pro in his name.
You know, when you have the amount of receivers the Bears have, and I think you have the protection that you can get, and I do think Caleb in his downfield accuracies and reading ability, I think there's a couple of spots that you can throw the ball, and so that's what I want to see out of this Bears football team is I want to see all the receivers included, including Cole and the running backs.
One thing I noticed from watching their last 2 games, they play hard. They play hard, and they're starting something like the Bears did a year ago. They're starting something with Jonathan Gannon, a 40-year-old NFL head coach and protege of Matt Eberflus there in Indianapolis. A very smart guy. He had a college football career that was ruined in an injury that ruined his career. I think it was a hip injury. But he was a safety and a really prominent high school quarterback in the Cleveland area. So this is a feisty guy. He's got a feisty football team.
He's going to be back, Jeff. You know, he's not going anywhere. So if these players don't show the commitment and the zest to play that Gannon needs out of them, then there's more likelihood the players will be gone than the head coach. So it's always kind of a difference maker. If you're a committed NFL player for life, then you better appease your head coach as much as anybody else.
Pretty good special teams unit as well.
Yes.
Name the running back coach of the Arizona Cardinals. I just brought him up. It's another Bear link. We're in Washington. Opening kickoff 2001. Chicago Bear. Autry Denson. Played 16 games that 01 season.
Yeah.
See, it's funny when you go through rosters and you think back to who was on. We think of all the stars and the big names and the recognizable names, but Autry Denson was on that team in 01 when the Bears went to the playoffs, the Jim Miller year. So, Autry Denson is the running backs coach, and I had not known he was in coaching. So that's pretty cool to see that. Oh, he's a domer.
Yeah, I know. I just said that.
Oh, I didn't hear you. Because I was talking over you. That's why.
Buddy.
I was listening to you on the phone today when you were in the grocery store. How'd that go? He needed to buy a dry red wine. Tom doesn't know red wine from red wine, so this is a leap of faith.
I've never bought a bottle of wine before, but
ever?
I was reading no,
not even as a gift for somebody.
No. So I was reading a recipe in a Chicago magazine about Italian beef. And so I wanted to try the recipe out of the magazine, and so that was one of the ingredients. And it said, buy a dry red wine. And I'm going, what the heck is a dry red wine?
Go to Benny's and say, hey, give me a dry red.
I know, but
that's it.
Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That's what I should have done.
Because, you know the drill. Yeah, come on, Tom. You're better than that. Dot your I's and cross your T's. But I'll tell you what, no matter what wine you use, that dish you're going to make, I'm sure you put accents a Tom Thayer accent on the
I did
recipe
it
itself?
every single step,
Okay.
by step, the way they said it in the magazine. That's the way I did it. And
the man can cook. Oh my God, he can cook, and he doesn't waste time going to restaurants. He makes his own. He's got his own restaurant.
I like going
set
to
up.
restaurants, though. There's
well,
no doubt
of course,
about it.
but
and-
yeah.
But I like to cook. I like to take the time out.
All right. Well, stealing the phrase of DJ Moore, he'd like to start cooking on the Arizona Cardinals in the NFC. So we'll bring that game to you. Kickoff, I believe, is at 3:05 in Glendale, Arizona, and I believe fully this will not be a partisan Arizona Cardinal crowd. It will be a loud Bears crowd. Too many people are going. I heard it. I hear it. I'm aware of it. They're going. They're going, Tom.
So one time we were playing the Arizona Cardinals when they were playing in Tempe. So we woke up the morning of the game. Jay Hilgenberg's got the flu so bad he can barely stand up. They take him from the locker room, put him in an ambulance, and make him go to the hospital. Ditka gets him out of the locker room. So Jerry Fontenot comes in, and he starts at center. That game, we rushed for 234 yards, 5.8 per yard per carry. Our offensive line is named NFC Offensive Player of the Week, our whole offensive line. And that's when Ditka came to practice and said, remember, who did Lou Gehrig take over for when he started his streak? I mean, it's a famous line. He took over when Lou Gehrig Wally Pipp. And he had Jay, just remember Wally Pipp. And so I always remember that game going forward.
I'll leave you with one other nugget. Last year, Arizona, certainly they were not a playoff team in a first year of a rebuild. Kyler Murray getting back in it halfway through the season after his 2022 injury. 14 of 17 games last season, the Arizona Cardinals were leading their games. So they fight you. Get ready for a fight. Yep. I don't know what that number is this year, but get ready for a fight. All right, that's going to do it for us. One more shout out to Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Illinois, right here at home, driving access toward healthier communities through it all. Actually, I do have one more thing because he's a friend of yours, and I've enjoyed talking to him over the years as they look at the veteran committee approach to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Your former teammate, Doug Williams, one of the 9 finalists. So he made the cut. He's a semifinalist now. Very happy for him.
I talked to him this weekend, and he had on a kind of a goldish suit more because he works for the Washington Commanders. But I said, Doug, you had got a Hall of Fame suit on, and I hope the best for you. Love him. He's one of my best friends of all time from football, and I have all the respect in the world, and I hope he gets into the Hall of Fame because he deserves it.
All right, Tom, we'll see you in Arizona, and it's going to be fun. That's all I got to say. That's going to do it for our podcast. For Tom, I'm Jeff. Thanks for listening. Please subscribe now on the Bears official app, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Bear down, everybody.